Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. We are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, as we do every weekday, and we appreciate everyone who joins in with us and can take part in this show as we are here. There we go. There I am. Again, we are live, and we do sincerely appreciate all of you who do join us. And we get to cover a wide range of topics here on this show, and that is what we're going to be doing here in this segment, even within the segment, covering a few different topics. So we start off talking about the Chinook Indian Nation, which is actually they're at the mouth of the Columbia. It involves several different tribes. We'll go into the details and give you all of that in the backstory, just to get a really good understanding of them. And then we're also going to talk about the Wild Coast Film Festival taking place this weekend in Astoria, and a film in particular that's going to be shown there. So there's a lot that we go through on this, and a lot that we cover. And I'm talking to Rachel Cushman, who's treasurer and secretary there for the Chinook Indian Nation, and a lot of other things too that she does that we also cover in this. And so let's go ahead and get this pulled up for you, and we will showcase this, a fascinating discussion, and really appreciate her time with us. Here we go.
Having some time to talk to us today. Really appreciate getting to see you, and we've got a lot of things that we're going to talk about, including the film coming up this weekend and everything that's happening with that. But to start off, would you mind giving everybody, maybe even just looking at it as a basic explainer on Chinook Indian Nation and just about you, and then about some of the big things that you're working on?
Yeah. Well, Haxawyam, Rachel Cushman, Naikiyachul, Nakatulakam, and Psycha Chinook Indian Nation, and Psycha Klatsip, Kaplamet, Wakayakam, Willapop, Lord Chinook. I said my name is Rachel Cushman. I'm a citizen of the Chinook Indian Nation, which is made up of the 5 most western Chinookan-speaking tribes at the mouth of the Columbia River and adjoining sea coast. We're the Klatsip and Kaplamet of Oregon, the Wakayakam, Willapop, and Lower Chinook of what is now Washington State. The Chinook Indian Nation is a tribe that has been working towards recognition for a long time. What that means, recognition means vital resources for our community, but what it really means is a government-to-government relationship with the United States government and the U.S.'s fiduciary responsibility to the nation for the taking of our land to create what is now this nation.
And this is something that was granted, from my understanding, was granted previously and then rescinded. Can you tell everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Chinook has a very arduous history with the U.S. government. Until the 1960s, we were basically a recognized nation. We had in the 50s been partially terminated in the Western Oregon Termination Act, which stripped the federal government to government relationship between the U.S. government and 61 nations. 3 of Chinook's tribes were listed in that, the Clatsop, Kathlamet, and erroneously the Lower Chinook, but we had still received services as a tribe from the Bureau of Indian Affairs until the 1960s. We had experienced boarding schools, we have allotments on reservations. We've experienced everything of the same as Indian country. But because the Western Oregon Termination Act and the U.S. government trying to get out of the Indian business, we lost services. And a decade later, in the 1970s, the Congress created the Branch of Research and Acknowledgement, or Branch of Acknowledgement and Research, which is now the modern day Office of Federal Acknowledgement. And we entered into that process immediately. And it was a 21-year process. We had to submit over 81,000 pieces of documentation proving who we were, who we are, and had to hire attorneys and ethnographers and a whole bunch of other professionals to help us with this case. It went 21 years, and finally, at the end of the Clinton administration, the then Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs, who was an Indian law expert, had sent our case out for external review by other Indian law experts and found, yes, Chinook Indian Nation should be recognized. 18 months later, in a new administration, the Assistant Secretary of Indian Affairs was an engineer from Oklahoma with no expertise in Indian law, and he said that the previous Assistant Secretary had misread the evidence and stripped us of our recognition.
That's decades, and I can't imagine how much, financially and just exhausting emotionally, I'm sure, to have that go all through and then have that rescinded. And when you look at that, to give everybody just a little bit of context, like what you mentioned, the government to government relationship, and there's fiduciary responsibilities and all of that. But when it comes down to it, being recognized and getting that federal recognition, what would that do for everybody who is there, who is part of the Chinook Indian Nation, just on a personal level, on their everyday lives?
What it would do for the regional community, because recognition doesn't just impact Chinook on a personal level. It would protect our children. We have a lot of our children being taken and put into foster care without any voice of where those kids go and their involvement with the nation. We would gain access to educational resources. In the last 20 years, we've lost out on millions of dollars of opportunities for education. An example is I am currently working on my doctorate at the University of Oregon, and I don't qualify for the Cobell Scholarship, which is a scholarship that was set up from litigation from the BIA mismanaging federal tribal lands. And my family is part of the class because we have allotments. And, if we were recognized, I could access that fund and not have to go into debt to get an education. And other citizens would be able to. We'd also be able to protect, our ancestors through the Native American protections and our Native American graves protections and repatriation act. Right now, our status makes it so that all of our ancestors aren't protected and aren't coming back to community. It would mean that, we could provide housing opportunities, health opportunities, and build wellness within the community, which would then all trickle into the local economy. We create jobs and housing, which most of our region is rural. Well, all of our region is rural, and it would be providing much needed resources to that rural community that is experiencing housing issues, and parts of our territory is a food desert.
Yeah, you mentioned just to go back to one of those things, and let me just re-ask that question too. In addition to everything that this would do for the personal level and the well-being of everybody there as part of the nation, you mentioned regionally this would be something tremendous as well. And can you talk about that as far as the regional impact of federal recognition for Chinook Indian Nation?
Yeah, actually, during the COVID pandemic, the Chinook Indian Nation, if we would have been recognized, would have qualified for, over $43 million in resources that would have come into the region to support housing, hospitals, and other industry, natural resource enhancement. But we missed out on that once in a lifetime opportunity to get funds into our region.
Yeah, and that's just an example then of
That's one example. There's multiple.
yeah.
But ultimately, it would be beneficial to all of the region to, again, sustain local hospitals, to build regional infrastructure, bring in additional housing, and most importantly, enhance our region's natural resources.
And what are the next steps or the process that you're going through right now for that federal recognition?
Well, Chinook's leadership is taking every possible route to recognition. This is an Oregon issue because of the Western Oregon Termination Act. Only an act of Congress can rebuild that government to government relationship for the tribes named in the Western Oregon Termination Act. All of the tribes have been restored except for our three tribes, the Clatsop, Haxawyam, and Lower Chinook. And we're working with delegates in both parties to secure a bill. We have a bill drafted. All of our neighboring nations have already reviewed it and have given the green light. They're in support of it. So there's that. We're also working, towards the Office of Federal Acknowledgement process. That pathway is just opened up for us this year through a new rule that has been announced by the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Again, that's a long and arduous process. We've been through it before. So this act of Congress is really, really important. And then, there's also the possibility of an executive order from the president. There's 4 pathways and the U.S. courts as well. So we're going every pathway, and we have a great team of folks working with us, some pro bono attorneys and lobbyists, and we have over 25,000 signatures from supporters, folks in the region. Our local government support us, our local communities support us, and we're hopeful under this new administration that we can finally achieve recognition. We saw during the last Trump administration that, Little Shell, who is a friend of ours, received recognition, and, Trump seems to be supportive of the Lumbee. So we're hopeful that we can get through this time as well.
All right. Well, let's talk about this weekend coming up. With switching gears there to that. Tell us about this festival that you're going to be a part of, and the film that you're going to be showing.
So the film is Guardian of the Waters, and it's the Wild Coast Film Festival in Astoria. The film will be showing Sunday morning. The film is about the partnership between the Chinook Indian Nation and a local conservationist organization, the Nicanicum Watershed Council, which I belong to both. So I'm the chair of the Nicanicum Watershed Council and the secretary treasurer of the Chinook Indian Nation Tribal Council. But what it is about the journey to building a collaborative effort to steward our homelands in a way that respects tribal sovereignty and really enhances our natural resources in the area and protects important watersheds and builds salmon populations and promotes healthy drinking water.
How important is that relationship? I mean, you being on both boards there, or both organizations rather, how important is it, that relationship between, say the Chinook Indian Nation and community and regional efforts like that for conservation and create, taking care of, I guess, the natural environment?
It's really important. Chinook has been stewarding the land for thousands of years. We have an intimate knowledge of the needs. The conservationist organizations have a drive to protect the environment as well. We, as a watershed council, don't own any land. We just help manage the watershed. So we are building relationships with industry and individuals, landowners. So we work hand in hand with those landowners to protect and enhance the natural resources. And so it's so important. We like I said, partner with industry. So we partner with timber companies. We partner with local municipalities. We partner with individual landowners who want to, remove hazards, invasive species, and help make the estuary and streams healthy, viable environments for wildlife and fish.
Yeah, for everyone, really. I mean, this
Just
is
for everyone, yes.
Yeah, that's beneficial all around for
Mhm.
everybody, including the environment and the native wildlife. So for this film and this experience this weekend, what can people expect when they show up to see this and then hear you speak afterward?
I think they'll be impressed about how Chinook has been able to build a relationship without federal acknowledgement, as well as they'll get to experience both sides. So there'll be a speakers panel afterwards where members of the Watershed Council and the tribe get to talk about how that relationship came to be.
And in addition to this weekend, just I guess overall, what do you think is the most important thing for people regionally and in the Northwest to know about Chinook Indian Nation and how they can learn more and understand more about what it is that this goal that you have?
Most important thing to know about the Chinook Indian Nation, that we're a sovereign nation. We care about the future of this place more than probably anybody else. Making sure that our homelands exist for generations to come. That's how we view the world. We always are making sure that we're leaving the world a better place than when we acquired it. So that's our hope, is for a brighter future for all people who live in what is now Oregon and Washington, as well as you know, uh, ways to get involved. Follow us on Instagram at Everyday Chinook, and on Facebook, Chinook Indian Nation, and check out chinookjustice.org to learn more.
Fantastic. Rachel, thank you very much for having time to talk to us. That's a lot that we've covered right here in 15 minutes, and there's so much more, but I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Again, really appreciate Rachel joining us here for Fox 12 Now, and thank you to all of you for being a part of this as well. We live stream here every weekday starting around 1 p.m. We go throughout the afternoon. We cover a wide range of topics, and we get to have those longer form, more in-depth conversations like we just had right there. So you can check out all of our segments on the Fox 12 Oregon app. I highly encourage you to download that, and that is a great way to keep up with all the different things that we are doing here. But that's it for right now. I'll talk to you soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.